Alright, now can I crank it?
Yeah. Yo, this is center.
All right, y'all, welcome back to another video here. We're up at TCAM Performance, going to do a little hub dynoing with the Bad Apple. We got Matt here. We're gonna get this thing strapped down on the hub dyno and try to get a baseline for maybe some no prep stuff this weekend. What else are we missing? Speak of the man himself. All right, we gotta stop talking shit on him now.
I'm used to it.
All right, you ready to have some fun?
411.
It's hard. It's a number we're not familiar with. Anybody, anywhere. It's just a very unique number because there's nothing like it. And there really isn't anything to compare it with.
This guy, in case you guys didn't know, went 411 before anyone else. Then he might have went threes, but really all we care about is the 411. All right, Kevin, we brought you a gem today.
The Bad Apple.
The Bad Apple. This is your first time really like tuning on it, right? You've been. I don't think you have. Before it had a little. What, it have a 8.2 deck motor in it. Now we got a TCAM freshened up 9.5 deck.
Unmolested.
You excited? What kind of power are we about to make?
All of it.
All right, I like it. I like it. All right, well, we're going to get to work here. We're going to get this thing on the hub dyno, and then you guys have seen these videos before. Hub dyno, great tool that you guys definitely should utilize if you guys are local. And even if you're not local, come here. It essentially simulates what you got going on at the drag strip. So Kevin, we're going to disconnect the trans brake, and he will get up on the two-step, let go. It's going to bang the 1-2 shift, and then he's going to shut it off. So it's really like a simulated drag run, and you'll get a good idea of what the car's going to do. If you have fresh build like this, anything weird, you could have like a fuel rail pop off or something odd like that. Rather have it happen here than at the track, because here it's a controlled environment. And yeah, so that's what we got going on. TCAM Performance, hub dyno tuning, one of the many different services they provide here. They also have a chassis dyno if you want to come put your car on the rollers and get all tuned up. So all right, guys, so the boys here have been doing some work on the Bad Apple, and I've been going back and forth, kind of just supervising, making sure everything gets done accordingly.
To be honest with you, I'm kind of retarded.
Had a few little hiccups with, what would you say, the ECU? Not the happiest ever. Something is going on where there's three, was there four? Up to
1B, J2B.
Up to J3?
J3 and then J4.
So J3A was the one you were using?
J3.
Done. No power.
J2B is done.
No power.
No power output. It'll output ground, but it won't output power.
So air shifter, what else is on there?
Boost solenoids.
So some stuff kind of wasn't working. Was it working earlier and then it's not working?
It's all grounded.
Oh, so the ground stuff will work.
Anything, so HOLLEY can output a ground, so like 10 of the pins are ground output, PWM negative, and then 10 of the pins are PWM positive. All the PWM positive on that connector are
done. So you switched them to some other connectors and
all to the J3, which I wired yesterday with the trans.
All right. So we got Kevin over here. You've been doing some tuning on it. What kind of like idle tune, some trans brake stuff?
Yeah, just trying to get her where she idles and stuff.
Giving her a good once over.
Good actually when come here.
All right. So we're not the worst in the world. We're talking like we're showing up pretty unprepared. Mainly it's because Matt's just been slacking.
I think you guys have been rushed.
Slightly. Is there any comments you want to say about the throttle and brake pedal situation in there?
It's a little tight.
A little tight?
I think my foot needs to be smaller. Maybe it's these big boots. I don't know.
You're pushing the gas and the brake was going down
Same
too.
time.
All right, so did a couple spool ups on the trans brake. What are we doing now?
We're gonna play with the dump a little bit now. Maybe it'll come up a little easier.
Okay.
Matt's got that wired up. Try it. See what happens.
And then when you're doing a pull on the hub dyno, pretty much like a simulated run. So what happens? You disconnect the trans brake?
We're gonna spool it up, come off the brake just like it would have passed. I'm sure the graph, if we show a little bit of that, it'll look just like a pass.
Awesome. Now this first one that you guys are going to do is
It's just gonna be a little baby pull. Make sure
everything's in like good, proper order.
Basically, we'll spool up. Assuming the spool's good, come off the brake. Let it go for half a second or so. No. Let it go half a second or so and turn her
Are you
off.
gonna run on CO2? Okay.
Listen, we're
How much CO2 you thinking?
I think I got 30 on the dome.
we're not half stepping here. We're trying to make some serious power. At the track it'd be like a 30-foot hit. Just kind of shake it down. But we ain't got to rent the track. We don't have to walk out there. We don't have to sweat in the heat. We ain't really, well, it's pretty good because we've had a couple of issues. If we had a track rental, it'd be pretty shitty.
The dyno, so Kevin will know this, and on my dyno, the dyno will find all your problems. If you have a problem, you will find it on the dyno usually.
I always thought Kevin brought the problems out of our stuff here, but maybe it's the dyno.
It is the dyno.
It's way easier to work on stuff here in controlled environment. You ain't gotta worry about the weather,
Yeah.
track conditions, you ain't gotta worry about none of that.
And way safer too. Like if you have a fuel line pop off, an injector pop off, you know.
We got our fire crew is Matt here, and he's got a couple fire system bottles here.
Oh yeah.
And then if these run out, he can always pull the one off the front of the car.
Yeah, you pull it off and then start spraying.
Those are always good. They're full, right? Yeah. It's nothing worse than going to grab a fire extinguisher and
It's
you need it
empty.
and you're like,
Well, Kevin, we got a problem here. The fire extinguisher is heavier than Matt, so it might take a second to get to you.
yeah, I need the hand truck.
Well, all right. Well, I think we have knocked out a couple little issues that we've seen. Had to adjust the pulley, which we knew we kind of had to do. And then, like we talked about, we got the balancer issue, but that we set time at the shop, so we kind of checked that one off. Everything else, I think, is
Just to clarify, when he said 30, I thought he meant 30 on the brake. I was like, wow, we about to party.
Yeah, Kevin's like, damn, you're not wasting any time around here. Gonna make some serious horse pressure. God, that thing sounds healthy.
I don't know if it does make any difference. We'll look at the converter charge pressure and see if it actually dumps it.
To life, but that converter I think is a little bit too tight, don't you think? Little snug converter. This is why we're here, because Matt is doing this at the That sounded pretty good. Yeah, that starter is glowing red when it it's probably pissed. All right, y'all. So
If it ever pulls up, we won't know. Let's add, already added speedometer to it. So when we put it in gear, we should see some RPM out of it.
Let me just exhale it.
we have a good running motor and a tight converter.
She tight. Snug.
That's why it's taking so long to get up on the chip and
Yeah.
it's actually pulling the motor down.
Yeah. I think if it was a little looser, obviously it'd spool a lot better. It's going to just work a lot better when it was really strained brake. So.
Okay.
Maybe we can work with it a little bit and play with these dumps.
This would be good for a big block.
This one's, I think, different from the ones we normally run. It's like an 11-inch, so that altogether, I mean, it's a whole different style converter and everything. So this is the definitely first one that I've messed with that being that big, but. All right, y'all, back here at LS Nasty getting unloaded. It's like 10 o'clock at night right now. Unfortunately, that last pull on the dyno, if you saw a little bit of smoke come from the front end area, it was the front seal blowing out. Let me set the camera down so we can talk for a second. We're fighting a couple issues with the car, very similar to the Black Sheep. It was wired when we got it, and then stuff was added, and we're fighting some wiring issues again where ECU got taken out of the car, put in another car, something's not working right with the ECU, so now we're having to move pins around, kind of just trying to get some stuff right that's not quite acting right. We're able to get most of that figured out. Matt and Kevin both working together, you know, really I'd say alleviated a lot of those issues where we were able to get the car to perform and at least be able to dyno it. If you guys notice, it was very lazy getting up on the two-step. It's a 427-inch small block Ford with some pretty healthy compression. I'd say pretty comparable to the Black Sheep. More flow with the cylinder head, better intake, better throttle body.
Yeah.
So it should be a better motor than what's in the Black Sheep.
You got a little bit more cranking compression.
So you'd expect it to act a whole lot better. The torque converter is just way off. Just not even close.
Yeah, too much converter charge pressure. It was well over 180, you know, on a spike, so I had to build a table that would PWM the dump valve to try to modulate torque converter charge pressure.
Explain to them what high converter charge pressure will do.
Yeah, so anything
and
over...
explain to it with what it's actually doing to the
so
flex
you got
plate
your
and everything.
You got your converter that goes inside your transmission, and your converter charge pressure is how much pressure is inside the torque converter. So if you have 100 pounds, you have 100 pounds of fluid pressure in there. Well, the thing, when it's got pressure in there, it's trying to blow the converter out of the transmission because the pressure is up against the input shaft and the stator tube and all that. So what happens is if it's too high, the only thing holding that thing in the transmission is the engine thrust bearing. So the transmission is trying to push it out and the engine's trying to push it back. Well, the transmission's going to win. Like if your converter charge pressure is over about 100, it's going to wear your thrust bearing out on your crank. So you get like these people like, oh, I got my thrust bearing, you know, it got knocked out. It's usually a transmission problem. Same thing with a manual transmission. You get something with a really heavy single disc clutch and like you push the clutch in and it's just hammering on the thrust bearing. So what we did was we built a table, PWM the dump on to where it was like modulated 40%, and we lowered the converter charge pressure via the dump. Normally what you'd want to do is your converter feed circuit, you'd want to restrict it, a whole bunch of other stuff. We can't do that on the dyno, so I did it with the dump valves.
Still had the converter pressure too high.
Yeah, with the dump valve, it just...
In the end, it did end up wearing on the thrust bearing, which if you guys know, if you have like a thrust bearing failure, like it can mess up your block, it can mess up your crank, it's just not good overall. Essentially, the crankshaft, right, is moving forward and back in the motor. So if you look at the balancer, like the balancer and the flying magnet and the mandrel off the front, all of that is moving forward. It moved forward enough where it started to leak out of the crank.
Yeah, we're only about 10 thousandths on our...
we caught it early, very early.
Yeah, we don't have to put bearings in it. if it's under 20, usually you can just put a set of bearings in it. So you drop the pan, take the cap off, roll the bearing in there. So you'll take and like actually push the bearing out, put a new bearing in without dropping the crank or anything. We're not to that point yet, so we just need to get the converter, charge pressure fixed.
This is the first time that we've ever run an 11-inch converter. I've been running the 10-inch converter and everything. I ordered 2 10-inch converters from Hughes. We're going to be ordering another converter from Hughes to go in this. It's just like this converter is just so far in left field from where we need to be. Like, it literally has an RPM drop when you let go of the button. It's impossible to get on the chip. You could just hear how tight it is going through the RPM range. Like,
yeah, 0% slip.
The converter, like, it's just not right for the setup. And it's a high dollar converter. Paid $3,800 for it. You'd expect it to be right. You'd expect it to be close. Obviously, it's a bolt together converter, switching stators as you can, but like, dude, this is nowhere close. So you talk to any transmission converter guy, they're like, oh, something wrong with the motor. You talk to any, it used to be, you talk to any motor guy, say something wrong with transmission. We have hard data and evidence. The transmission data is very, very, very helpful. I'll never run a car again without having that converter charge pressure and line pressure and everything like that, because you can literally tell what the transmission's doing.
Yeah, today we wouldn't have known that.
If we were at the track just testing, we'd have a tore up motor and probably oil on the track and potentially a tore up car. So being on the hub dyno, having that transmission data, I mean, it's priceless. You really can't put a price on them. And anywhere from, you know, $10,000 to $20,000 to the price of an entire car, it's literally worth that much. So I'll get up with my boy Pete over at Hughes Torque Converters. We'll get something stirred up for this thing. There's nothing wrong with this converter. It's just not right for our application.
This would be a good converter for like a RVW car.
A big block with a single turbo or something like that. And if you get it and change the stator in it, it could be a great converter for your turbo stuff, but for your small block turbo stuff. But for me, dealing with Hughes Torque Converters.
Well, calling and getting a stator, we say like,
hey Pete, I want to run a different stator. What's it cost? Oh, nothing. Just send me your stator back. I'll send you a new one.
Or, hey man, we're going to a race. Okay, cool. I got you a stator, and you know it's there. It's not like
it's
too much.
I think that Hughes makes an excellent converter, but I think what is just as great as their product is their customer service, dealing with them, the being able to get the parts that you need in a timely manner. Most of the stuff with racing, it's how the industry is. It's last minute. You need the part. You need to get to a race.
Same reason we use TKM. You know, there's a lot of other machine shops out there. TKM does amazing work, but TKM, they get it done. It's right.
If something's wrong, they make it right. Kevin answers his phone at all times. If I need help with anything, if something's wrong,
that's priceless.
It's literally a lot of the stuff that we talk to you guys about with these companies. Like, it's no BS. It's not some marketing scam. They're not paying us to say anything. We're using these companies because we like them. We like the product they put out, their customer service, their racers. They get it, and we just form a great relationship with them when we start working together. Yeah. That's how it starts. It's no one. I mean, it's just.
I mean, it's like why we deal with M&M. I mean, you know, if we got a transmission problem, you know, I can call Mark and like we're gonna have it fixed. We're not gonna be. Okay, well, it'll be 2 months before I get to you. You know, this is this problem. I mean, you know, we want to go racing, and the support means sometimes more than the product.
Yeah. So this converter, it literally has 4 or 5 dyno pulls on it, so it's brand new. It's an 11-inch billet bolt together torque converter. Paid $3,800 for it. Like $3,000 if someone wants this converter. Hit me up, $3,000 you can get it. It's a badass torque converter.
Big shaft 400.
It's for inch and 3/16 input. TH400. It's badass.
6 bolt.
Yep.
So
it's literally a top of the line converter. It's just there's nothing wrong with it. Will it work for this configuration? Yes, with time, with making a stator change. Unfortunately, actually it's not unfortunately. Fortunately, Hughes torque converters and performance transmissions, the guys over at Hughes, Pete, I mean, they take care of us so good. They're a great company. We'll be putting one in this. So no questions asked. We're going there. So if you guys are interested in this torque converter, hit me up, send me a message on Facebook, Instagram. I'll put it in a box. I'll ship it to you. Just PayPal me the money, and we'll go from there. So,
all right. Dig or die.
Dig or die. We're not going to make it the dig or die. It's not going to work. Obviously, some of the stuff we just named, it's not going to work.
Yeah, we got so much stuff and going untested, and you know, it's one of those things that you I feel like our time will be a lot more productive if we just stay here and work in the shop on other stuff and get some stuff knocked out, because we can do everything. We can jump through the hoop. We can try to get it swapped and, you know, fix the oil leak, and, you know, there's some other issues that the brake pedal, steering column stuff need to be addressed. There's a lot of wiring stuff that needs to be addressed.
The car's like 85% of the way there. It needs the last 15%, and the last 15% need to be done very good and efficiently, and
Not a rush job.
and a high quality product, because the last 15% is what you deal with all the time.
Yeah, we don't want to run into the same issue like we're, you know, with the bad or the black sheep, you know, where we're going to the track. We're just trying to get it band-aided enough to go to the next race, and then you end up going to the race and it's like,
we're going to take our time. We're going to do what we have to do to get it right, so the finished product is a turnkey race car that has no issues, no bugs, that we can go to the track, we can race, we can go have fun with.
You go to the track, you race it, you load it in the trailer, and you just leave it in the trailer and go to the track the next weekend. You don't have to do anything to it.
So, unfortunately, if you guys are wanting to see us at Dig or Die, I'm sorry. We're racers, both of us. We want to be out there racing. We want to have a chance to win. Obviously, we want to have a chance to get that money in our pocket, but we're also realists, and we can thrash on this thing all night, and we could band-aid it back together. We could pull up to that start line leaking oil with the wrong converter in it and potentially knock the thrust out of it, have the oil pump belt fall off, and
wiring problem,
and have the ability to race for $100,000 and probably cost us $10, $20, $30, $40, $50, $60,000. So you have to weigh the odds there.
And you're going against guys. I mean, a lot of those guys will be there.
Dude, they're good. All the guys that they're racing are good.
Very competitive. So you got a car that's like never been on no prep. You know, we know what we need to do and we can kind of get it there. But I mean, off the trailer, I mean, there's so many things. You let go of the button and it just smoked the tire off of it, and you know you're out first round. And it's just not. Our time will be far more productive, you know, working on 50 Chance, working on the Blizzard, you know, we get some stuff done on Slick Rig. You know, it's just, you know, for where we're at now and how many cars we got to do, we just need to maximize our time, and this is how we're going to do it.
So thank you guys for watching, comment, subscribe. Go give Matt a follow on Instagram, because Matt's down here doing a bunch of work, putting in a bunch of time, and really a key component to LS Nasty Racing. So everyone show Matt some love, check him out.
I'll be honest, I don't really post much on Instagram. So, well, you can follow me though, and I'll eventually, when I get some time, I'll post. But
if you guys follow, if enough people follow him, he'll post. So his Instagram's above his head, so follow him. See you guys in tomorrow's upload.
buy this round. John Doe got to buy this round. The black sheep on the property. He got to buy to the next round.